So for those of you who have watched my channel for a little while now, you'll know that I am no stranger to people coming up with ridiculous excuses in an attempt to justify why they can continue to cause so much unnecessary suffering and harm to animals. But in today's video, I may be addressing the most ridiculous one that I have heard yet. And that's because in the UK, fox hunters are currently conducting a campaign which has been headed by a group called Hunting Kind, where they are attempting to, and just brace yourself for this, they are attempting to have fox hunters classified as a legally protected ethnic minority. This claim is so outrageous that it almost seems nonsensical to address it, right? I mean, it's so absurdly wrong, isn't it? I mean, the audacity of these people and the arrogance of these people to think that they would have any legal claim to be classified as an ethnic minority. I mean, what is going on? Fox hunters are so detached from ethics, but also it seems from logic and critical thinking. I mean, you just need to have basic functioning critical faculties to understand why this is completely inappropriate and why this surely has no legal grounds whatsoever. But we'll talk more about this in a moment, and what I want to do as well is react to some clips of a person called Ed Swales, who is the head of this Hunting Kind campaign group. But before we get to that, I think it's important to provide a little bit of context around this issue. So fox hunting in the UK has been illegal now for 20 years. It was made illegal back in 2004. But this is where it starts to get quite concerning, because even back then, 20 years ago, as this law was being passed, 37,000 hunters signed a pledge saying they were going to break the law. 37,000 of them. And these are just the people that signed the pledge. You see, the thing about fox hunting and what we have to understand about hunters here in the UK is they think they exist above the law. They think the law doesn't apply to them and that they are a persecuted class of people who have been unfairly victimized by urban people who have no concept of what rural life is about and what wildlife management is about. These are all red herring arguments that this community likes to use to justify why they think they're entitled to just do the most unspeakably awful things to animals. And it's not just that these people position themselves as being above the law. Fox hunting is inextricably tied to the archaic class system that still sadly dominates the UK. And so fox hunting is very much part of this cultural aspect of the UK, which is tied in with this very archaic class view that we have. And so they literally position themselves at the top of society because of the way that society has historically treated people who are upper class. So then the question becomes, well, what protections do these people actually want? These people are already protected. Often they are politicians or peers. Sometimes they are police officers or ex-police officers. And they're often wealthy landowners who are well connected to many different aspects of British society and British culture. These people are already protected. The law means nothing to these people, which is why there are hardly ever any charges brought, even when these acts of criminality are filmed, even when they are documented and the evidence is sound and there for everyone to see, because this law isn't taken seriously. It is so twisted to think that these people need protections because they are so protected already. These people don't need extra protections, they need prosecutions. That's the word that we should be using. That's the word that needs applying to this community of people, not protections. For example, back in 2020, a series of webinars were leaked, and these webinars were being carried out by hunting's governing body in the UK. And the purpose of these webinars was to give tips and techniques to hunters on how they could do illegal hunting, but disguise it as a legal hunt. And if that wasn't bad enough, some of the speakers included ex-police officers and a police chief inspector.
Anything that comes out of these meetings is to be kept amongst ourselves.
I hope there are no police officers listening. Now, you know more about hunting than saboteurs or the courts will know. But what it will do is create that smoke screen or that element of doubt that we haven't deliberately hunted a fox.
In the description, I'll include some sources where you can read for yourself about some of the awful things that fox hunters have been documented doing. But what I think is really interesting for this video is to look at an example that Hunting Kind themselves have put forward as an example of why they believe they deserve legal protections. In other words, this is an example where they believe that they have been unfairly discriminated against. So the example they put forward is from the Wiltshire Police Department, and specifically from their Rural Crimes Unit. Now, bear in mind that the Rural Crimes Unit is the unit that should be holding fox hunters accountable. This is the unit that would be investigating potential fox hunting crimes. But it was revealed that PC Cheryl Knight, who was part of this rural crimes unit, was joining the hunt. There were photographs of her horse riding with the hunt. Now, when this came out, Wiltshire Police Department removed her from the rural crimes unit and said that moving forward, they would make sure that no one hired to that unit had ties to hunting or anti-hunting groups. Now, I would imagine that to most rational people, this seems very logical. You shouldn't have someone working in a crime unit where there's a clear conflict of interest around what professionally they're supposed to be doing and what they're doing in their own private life and their own private time. If you have someone that's joining the hunt, how can you trust that person to hold the hunt accountable? These people are her friends, her community. This is how she spends her time when she's not a police officer or part of this police department. So obviously, she shouldn't be part of the rural crimes unit. How is that a form of discrimination? That just makes logical sense. And yet Hunting Kind believe that this is a great example of why they deserve legal protections. In other words, they think they deserve legal protections so that they can have police officers involved in hunts who are also part of the crime unit that would be investigating the hunt that they're a part of. I mean, that's just obviously nonsensical. So now let's look at a couple of clips from Ed Swales, who is the man behind this ridiculous campaign.
Keir Starmer, in his position as Prime Minister, with a legal background, would, one hopes, understand the detail and the not the nuance, the actual plain fact of the matter, that we are a minority ethnic group of British people that hunt.
I mean, this is just so ridiculous, isn't it? And it's so ridiculous, it's kind of difficult to know how sincerely to take these people. I mean, surely they don't actually believe that they're going to be granted legal protections like an ethnic minority. But then are they just doing this for PR to get people talking about them and talking about fox hunting? But it's not good PR. Most people listen to this and think, what are you talking about? What are you saying? I mean, I don't think there's really a greater way that they could show how detached they are from the everyday person, how aloof they believe themselves to be than statements like this. I mean, it's just so mad. So it's not good PR, and they can't be serious. Is this kind of like a bit of a troll that these people are having a laugh within their community, and it's just kind of a way for them to laugh at sort of, what would we say, like woke ideologies? Because obviously these people are of a certain political and social persuasion. And the thing about fox hunting is it's not just vegans and animal rights activists who are opposed to it. I mean, obviously we're opposed to it, and then we apply that opposition consistently by being vegan and not paying for awful things to happen to animals. But meat eaters and everyday people are also ardently opposed to fox hunting as well. But what's interesting about this clip is the wording he chooses to use. He doesn't say that fox hunters are an ethnic minority. What he says is that they are a minority who are an ethnic group. Okay. But doesn't that apply to lots of different situations? What about tiddlywinks players? A minority of people play tiddlywinks. Does that mean that tiddlywinks players should be classified as an ethnic minority because they're an ethnic group? Or tiddlywinks players are probably far more diverse, let's say, than fox hunters. So a collection of different ethnic groups playing something that a minority of people play? Does that mean that tiddlywinks players should be legally protected? Obviously not. And here's the thing about fox hunters, right? They are the ethnic majority. The vast majority of them are white British. So they are the ethnic majority engaging in something that a minority of people engage in. Sure. But that doesn't mean you should be legally protected. It's completely absurd. But the reason the majority of people don't fox hunt is because they recognize that fox hunting is an evil and barbaric thing to engage in. I mean, one thing they can say is that they are in the ethical minority because what they are doing is so ethically awful. And so basically these people are saying they deserve legal protections because they have failed to grasp even the most basic moral understanding around how we should treat animals. You don't deserve legal protections because you have failed to grasp that forcing a fox to be torn apart by a pack of hounds is clearly wrong.
We're happy with what we do, and we see it as a really important part of wildlife management. We get that. It's naturally selective. We're actually doing people a service. We're picking up the foxes, let's say, or the hares, or the deer, or the rabbits that are either old, have got no teeth, they're going to die of starvation, or they've got disease, or they're just not adapted to outperforming a dog in that chase. So we're quite happy with that whole natural selectivity.
So here we have Ed Swales openly admitting that he and others engage in illegal activity, in crimes. And his justification for committing a crime is to say that fox hunting is part of natural selection. No, it's not. Hunting foxes is not part of natural selection. This is men and women riding on horses using hounds who have been selectively bred to hunt animals. That's not natural selection. He even says that one of the criteria that makes it natural selection is that the hounds will kill any animal that can't outrun them.
Or they're just not adapted to outperforming a dog.
But can Ed Swales outrun a pack of hounds? If a pack of hounds were hunting Ed Swales down to tear him limb from limb, could he escape them? No, of course not. So would that make it natural selection? Would that make it ethical and okay if a pack of hounds were set on Ed Swales to rip him limb from limb? No, obviously not. But this really just shows, doesn't it, the mentality that fox hunters have and how weak and illogical their arguments are. They're trying to appeal to nature by doing something that's completely unnatural. It just really speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Hunters engage in illegal fox hunting and trying to co-opt laws that protect people with genuine marginalised characteristics and protected characteristics is absolutely preposterous. And it's just looking for a way to circumvent laws that were created 20 years ago to protect animals in order to engage in acts that are illegal without any social consequences.
Anyway, that brings me to the end of the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. And as always, let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are around this subject. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.